There's no doubt that Swedish culture is one of the coolest in the world, pun intended, and you don't have to look far to realize why. But what can we learn from the unique history of Sweden? With agingly beautiful scenery, striking ancient artifacts, the quaint and unforgettable Stockholm, and the fika that they do so well, Sweden is a go-to destination for travelers seeking a dreamy Scandinavian experience. But culture has to start somewhere. For Sweden, it's a fascinating story that spans roughly 10,000 years. The history of Sweden is a cobblestone road that twists and turns with nomads that become settlers, farmers that become voyagers, and the breaking of ties to the old ways of Norse paganism. And that's just a snippet of the Swedish narrative. In today's video, we will talk about the rich culture and fascinating history of the Scandinavian country Sweden. So, make sure to watch the video till the end to learn about the rich culture and fascinating history of Sweden. Swedish history begins at the end of the Ice Age. To understand where it all began, you must take yourself back to the end of the last Ice Age. This is where the first budding signs of Swedish history and culture really started. With the melting of the ice, nomadic Stone Age people slowly began to make their way across the land that is now known as Sweden. It's believed that the migration mainly consisted of tribes from Central Europe who settled in the south of Sweden, and the ancestors of the Sami people who came from Siberia, settling in the north. Over time, the thousands of islands, lakes, forests, and mountains of Sweden became their home. White runestones are everywhere and help tell the history of Sweden. When it comes to historical rock carvings, the Swedish petroglyphs are just the start. If you visited Sweden, you'll know that the inscription of runic characters run wild across the countryside. The runic characters are a key part of Sweden's past and culture, signifying the oldest known existing form of writing in Scandinavia. Fun fact, according to Scandinavian legend, it was the Norse god Odin who discovered the runes. The remains of runes cover a wide range of Swedish history, spanning from as far back as the Bronze Age all the way through to the 20th century. It's no wonder then that Sweden has more runestones than any of the other Scandinavian countries. Despite their enduring existence throughout history, the runes are most often associated with the Vikings. Vikings, the explorers and adventurers of Swedish history. You can't reflect on Swedish history and culture without touching on one of the most famous aspects, the Viking Age. This part of Sweden's history roughly took place between the 9th and the 11th centuries and was an exciting time that led to a lot of change. With Swedish land and resources running out and the lure of foreign treasures and adventure, Swedish Vikings joined their Scandinavian peers in voyages abroad. They traveled in expertly crafted boats designed specifically for their exploration, allowing them to go further than ever before. Looking at the big picture, this era of Swedish history is obviously monumental, and the Vikings introduced Sweden to the rest of the world. They put them on the map, so to speak. Swedish Empire, back when they were a military superpower. While current-day Sweden is known for its harmonious approach to life, it was for a time feared for its status as a mighty military power. Around the 17th century, Sweden fought and won against Denmark, Poland, and Russia. Under King Gustavus Adolphus, the Swedish armies were trained and resourced for warfare in a way that rivaled the other kingdoms of the time. In fact, during the 30 Years' War, Swedish troops won many victories in battle. With strategic leadership and unstoppable military power, they became a controlling force in the Baltic region and were even seen as an equal to the likes of the German Holy Roman Empire. Sweden's role in the World Wars. While the armies of Sweden were once very busy, having spent centuries defending and conquering, the Sweden of modern history is admired for its peaceful nature. In fact, Sweden has been at peace since 1814, choosing to remain neutral during World War I, World War D, and the Cold War. This commitment to peace and harmony runs deep in the Swedes of today. They've been heavily involved in the peacekeeping initiatives of the United Nations. And in fact, Sweden is considered to be among one of the safest places in the world to visit. Their harmonious approach to life is also evident in the everyday warmth, humbleness, and friendliness of their people. Swedish culture and identity run deep. Even though Sweden joined the European Union in 1995, they remain true to their heritage and stand proud in their unique Swedish identity. This was obvious when in 2003, the Swedes voted against the adoption of the euro, deciding to keep their traditional currency, the krona. Their firm stance on remaining neutral during the World Wars is another example of their confidence in who they are as a people, perhaps gained from the many years of cultural molding and the constant outside pressures from neighboring countries throughout Sweden's history. It's no surprise then that Sweden has raised generations of accomplished thinkers, artists, musicians, designers, inventors, and business people. A celebration of Sweden's thriving way of life. Over the last 150 years, Swedish people have shown a flair for ingenuity through various trades and industries. From the creativity of the arts to the imagination of science and entrepreneurship, there have been countless Swedes over many decades who have left their mark on the world. The Sweden we know and love today. Every history is a journey, and what a trip it's been during the history of Sweden. Today they stand at about 10 million people, with a territory that spans 1,572 kilometers from north to south. Despite the urban development and population growth that's taken place over the years, the Swedes are still a people very much tied to the natural wonders that make up the land. 63% of the country is still forest. They use 54% renewable energy, and they boast 30 national parks. In fact, much of their tourism is built off the outdoor enthusiasts who flock to the country to experience their breathtaking coastlines, mountains, lakes, and hiking trails. They still have a monarchy because some traditions run deep and a parliamentary democracy, but more importantly, they have a society that values one another. They're a proud but humble nation that enjoy a rich cultural heritage that includes various groups including the Sami, Jews, Roma, Swedish Finns, and Tornedalers. The Swedes have earmarked a certain Scandinavian way of life that is celebrated for its balance. In fact, there is a Swedish word that sums it up perfectly: lagom. That's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Share your thoughts about the Swedish culture and history with us in the comments section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.